Yeah, hello everyone. In this lecture, we'll be studying about chemical reactions and the equations regarding the chemical reactions and how to balance the equations. That's the most important part of this particular lecture. We'll be studying about what is a chemical reaction and how does that reaction takes place and what are the parts of the chemical reactions and what is meant by chemical equations, what is meant by how to balance the chemical equations. That thing will be the most important content of this one, and later we'll try to understand different types of chemical reactions. And hello everyone, myself I'm Dr. Sarin. We'll be dealing this particular class initially with the basics of chemical reactions and then enter into the chemical equations. So here first, chemical reaction. What is chemical reaction? Chemical reaction means, if you see the first part, it is a process that occurs when matter undergoes a change in composition. If there is any kind of change in the composition, and if the matter undergoes a change in the composition, we say that process which is undergoing a change in the composition as the chemical reaction. Reaction means it's a kind of process where any of the matter, part of the matter, it can be anything. Like solid matter means what? Matter is nothing else, but it can be any kind of part of the matter, like solid, liquid, or gas. So if any of this particular matter undergoes any kind of change in its composition, means in the composite parts, like how it has been made. If matter means completely, it will not be 100% pure. It has got some inclusions in that one. So if any small change takes place in that particular matter, let it be solid or liquid or gas, and that process we call it as a chemical reaction. We'll try to understand that one in the example. So first, definition of chemical reaction means what? It is a process that undergoes when a matter has got some change in its composition. So next one, CNO. Any process that involves in the rearrangement of the structure of the substance to form a new substance. So example is like something like if hydrogen and oxygen, if both are being combined together, we are going to get water. Is it okay? Like if I talk about the carbon and oxygen, you are going to get carbon monoxide or it will be carbon dioxide, depending upon the compositions of atoms of two different kinds of matters. Why? Because why I'm telling like the two different kinds of matters, because if I talk about carbon is a solid kind of thing, and oxygen is a gases. So whenever you combine two different matters like carbon, which is solid in nature, and oxygen, which is gas in nature, if you combine, you're going to get, depending upon the compositions, the product will be carbon monoxide or it will be carbon dioxide. So that is what we are talking about. Chemical reaction means what? It is a process that involves the arrangement of structure of the substance. First of all, will be discussing about structure also anyway. Structure of the substance to form what? To form a new substance. New substance means what? We are talking about the product. Whenever the two different matters are being involved or combined together, you are going to get a new substance. That substance, new substance, you are going to say it is a product. Product will be the final stage of that combining of two different matters. So CNO, in which one or more substance are converted to one or more different substances, that is what we call the chemical reactions. So in order to define these chemical reactions, we have made like here different sentences which directly talks what is chemical reaction. First one, what I told, it's a process that occurs when a matter undergoes a change in composition. First of all, there should be change in composition. What is meant by change in composition? Change in composition means that involves the rearrangement of structure. Rearrangement of structure of substance in order to form what? In order to form a new substance. In order to form a new substance. That new substance is called as a product. The next one. What is chemical reaction? It is again a process where one or two different substances are being combined or involved in order to get converted into one or more different substances. As I told just now, if an hydrogen is being combined with an oxygen, you're going to get water, H2O. Or else if you're going to combine carbon and oxygen, you're going to get again two different kinds of substance depending upon the composition. The first one can be carbon monoxide and the other one can be carbon dioxide. So this is what we are talking about, conversions of conversions when one or two substances have been combined to form a new substance. The next one, the substance which takes parts, the substance which takes parts in a chemical reactions are called reactants. So see now, if I try to put oxygen plus hydrogen, I'm going to get H2O. I'll tell about what about this one later. I'll talk about the atoms and all those things later. If I'm combining here, H plus O2 means hydrogen plus oxygen. This left-hand side, these are called as the reactants. The substance which take part in a chemical reactions, these are called as the reactants. H plus O2 is called reactants, and H2O, after H2O is directly you're not going to get, we are supposed to balance that one. Once if you get this H2O, this one is called as a product. This one is called as a product. The left-hand side of this one is called as a reactants, and the right side is called as a product. So in chemical reactions, you'll be learning about the two terms. First one is called as a reactant, and second one is called as a H2O. Reactants means what? The substances which take parts in the chemical reactions. What are the substances which are taking part now in the chemical reactions? Hydrogen and oxygen. These two substances are going to get combined. Combined means what? It is going to get involved in a process of chemical reaction. So the substance which get involved in the process of chemical reactions is called reactants. And whatever the output we get after the chemical reaction, that output is called as a product. So see now, the new substance which is formed. What is the new substance over here? The new substance here is formed as a H2O. The new substance which is formed from a chemical reaction, it is called as a product. It is called as a product. So these two are most important terminologies in a chemical reaction. What is meant by a reactant and what is meant by product? The next one, reactants and products differ in their physical and chemical properties. They differ in their physical and chemical properties. It depends upon different kind of things. Like just I told, in the physical and chemical properties. Here we have taken the hydrogen and oxygen, and again we are having here two atoms of hydrogen, and on the product side is having two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of only oxygen. But whereas here in the reactant side, the oxygen is having two atoms. So this is what we are talking here about. The reactants and products differ in their physical and also chemical properties. See here, this both are what? Chemical properties means, how can I tell you is that this both hydrogen and oxygen, both are the gases. It is a kind of matter which is in the form of a gas. But when it comes to the product side, after this chemical reaction has been done, the product is H2O. The H2O is what? It is also a kind of matter, but this particular matter is in the form of a liquid. It's in the form of a liquid. So this is what we are talking about. It's different in its what is that? Properties, chemical properties. The reactants are in the gaseous state, whereas the product is in the form of a liquid state. The next one, the law of conservation of mass and energy holds always in the chemical reaction. This is the most important one. In the chemical reaction, the law of conservation of mass and energy is most important. Energy, like the matter cannot be created or it can be destroyed. That's what we are talking about here. We energy, definitely there will be energy, and the conservation of energy and the conservation of mass is always holds good whenever it comes to the part of a chemical reaction. I hope now it is clear to you what is meant by chemical reaction. Chemical reaction means what? It is a process. What kind of process? It is a process where a matter is getting involved. What is meant by matter? Matter means it can be gases or liquids, or it can be solid. Okay, we'll talk about the fourth one later. Then again, this particular matter has to undergo what? It has to undergo a process. That process only we call it as a chemical reaction. So now what happens in this one, in the chemical reaction? In the chemical, whenever the different types of matters are getting involved, there will be a rearrangement of the structure of the particular substance. If the rearrangement of the rearrangement of the substance takes place, a new substance comes out. So the substances which are getting involved in a chemical reaction are called as reactants. The new substance which has been formed, that is called as a product. So from this one, we can understand that chemical reactions, we can divide in any of the chemical equation, there will be two parts. The first part, which is called as a reactants. Reactants means the substance which are getting involved in the chemical reaction, and product means product is the output of the chemical reaction. So these are two parts of your chemical reaction. Then later, what you are supposed to understand, this chemical reaction will always hold good with the law of conservation of energy and also with the law of conservation of mass. So this was about the chemical reaction. So now let us see the example. So whatever we have discussed here, even I have discussed an example of carbon here. Let us see that one. See now, the carbon reacts with oxygen present in the air, then results in the formation of a carbon dioxide gas. What's happening here? Carbon, which is solid in nature, that is getting reacted with the oxygen. So this both carbon and oxygen, which is gas in nature, this both are the substance which are going to take part in the chemical reaction. So now carbon plus oxygen will become as what? Reactants. Whenever the carbon and oxygen are being taking part in a chemical reaction, a new product is going to be formed, new substance is going to be formed. That new substance is called carbon dioxide, which is again a gaseous state. So carbon dioxide will become as now what? Product. Carbon and oxygen are the reactants, carbon dioxide is a product. So see now, in the whole process, carbon and oxygen are reactants and carbon dioxide is a product. Carbon dioxide is what, ma? Product. So see the second example. Water reacts with the carbon dioxide. Water reacts with the carbon dioxide, results in the form of carbonic acid. So water and carbon dioxide. If I want to write here H2O plus CO2, water plus carbon dioxide. Whenever these two reactants are combining or taking parts in this one, what is that? In a chemical reaction, we are going to get a product called as carbonic acid. Carbonic acid is called as what? Carbonic acid is a product. We have water plus carbon dioxide is what? Those two are called as a reactants, and carbonic acid is called as a product. So what is happening here? In which water and carbon dioxide are the reactants and carbonic acid is a product. So let us see the next one. What happens if the hydrochloric acid reacts with the sodium hydroxide? So this will be an assignment for you. You are supposed to get the equations of this third one. What will happen? What kind of product you are going to get if the reactants like hydrochloric acid is being reacted with the sodium hydroxide? You're supposed to find out the product for this one. This is an assignment for you. So this is about the introduction about what is meant by chemical reaction. Chemical reaction. Now, see now, the characteristics of the chemical reaction. Let us see what are the characteristics of chemical reaction. Some of the important characteristics of chemical reactions are change of state. What is meant by change of state? When hydrogen gas reacts with oxygen gas, it results in a product that called as a liquid water. So first of all, what is happening? Whenever any of the substances or the matter takes part in the chemical reaction, the first character of the chemical reaction is that the state changes. Earlier here, whenever hydrogen is combining with the oxygen, both this hydrogen and oxygen both are gases. Both are gases. When these both are combining, we are going to get a product which is again a liquid in state. So what is happening? Both the gases combine to form another type of matter. Change of state is happening from gas to liquid. So the first one is change of state. The second one, what is the second one? Second characteristic, change in color. Change in color means what? When iron nail is dipped in the blue colored copper sulfate solution, the blue color changes to green. So what's happening here? When an iron nail, if you're trying to dip a iron nail in a blue colored copper sulfate, if you try to dip a iron nail in a blue colored copper sulfate, what will happen? That particular blue color of the solution is going to change into green. So this is called the second kind of characteristics. What's happening here? Second kind of characteristics of chemical reaction is what? Change in color. Change in color is the second characteristics of a chemical reaction. Then the third one, what is the third characteristics of chemical reaction? Evolution of a gas. The gases are evolved. Evolved means what? The gases are going to come out of this chemical reactions. Whenever substances have been taking part in a chemical reactions, ultimately the product can be any of the gas. Gases are evolved. That means gases have been formed. So see now, examples is what? When sodium reacts with water, if sodium is getting reacted with water, the bubbles of the hydrogen gas is seen. So what's actually happening here? When sodium has been reacted with water, bubbles of hydrogen gas has been seen. So means this gas, hydrogen gas, is evolved over here. Evolved means it has come as an output. So see now, the third characteristic is what? Evolution of a gas. Then the fourth characteristics, let us see. Change in temperature. Whenever the two different substances have been taken part in chemical reaction, there can be change in temperature of the product. Means it can be hotter one, or else it can be a most cooler one. That's what we call it as a dry ice. A dry ice is nothing else but it's a form of a carbon. We usually see the dry ice. Whenever you put the dry ice in a water, I hope you know about the dry ice. If you put a dry ice in a water, that particular dry ice, with the resultant of this chemical reaction of dry ice with water, will give us a kinds of fumes. Fumes have been formed. We are different kind of gases have been evolved out of that one. So see, change in temperature. When water is added to quicklime, the vessel becomes warm due to the evolution of the heat. If you are adding a water to quicklime, what happens? Whichever the vessel the quicklime is present, that particular vessel is going to become hot. Why it is going to become hot? Because the evolution of heat is being generated over there. This chemical reaction, whenever the water has been mixed with quicklime, that chemical reaction will generate a heat. Because of that heat, the temperature has been generated or been taken place. The increase in temperature taken place in the vessel. So next one, when a potassium hydroxide, if you're trying to take the potassium hydroxide, if that has been added with the ammonium chloride, if you're adding a potassium hydroxide with an ammonium chloride, the vessel becomes cold. Why it is going to become cold? Because of absorption of the heat. Here what's happening? The heat is produced in the first case. In the second case, heat has been absorbed. So in the second case, what's happening? If you're trying to put a vessel which is having potassium hydroxide, and if that has been mixed with ammonium chloride, then definitely what happens? The vessel after the chemical reaction is going to become cooler. Why it is going to become cold? The main reason is that the absorption of the heat takes place over here. So this is about the third different types of characteristics of chemical reaction. Let us see the fourth one. Fourth one is formation of a precipitate. Precipitate means we are talking about the smaller particles, like solid kind of particles which are going to be formed. So see now, when silver nitrate solution, if the silver nitrate solution reacts with a sodium chloride, if you're trying to mix or combine or make involvement of the silver nitrate with the sodium chloride solution, it gives the precipitate of silver chloride and sodium nitrate solution. So you're going to get precipitates when you're combining the two different materials also. So this was about the different characteristics of the chemical reactions. What are the different characteristics of chemical reaction? The first one is change of state. The second one is change in color. The third one is evolution of the gases. Fourth one is change in temperature. And the fifth one is formation of precipitate. Is it clear to you all up to here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now we have understood about the different types of characteristics of the chemical reactions and what is meant by chemical reaction we have studied, and what are the different types of characteristics of a chemical reaction. Different types of characteristics of chemical reactions. So I hope it is clear to you this part, understanding what is chemical reaction and what are the different characteristics of the chemical reactions.